Oh my god, you guys. No, not one, but two yandere girls. Over this guy, Japanese Bob Ross? Is that what we were missing in attracting Japanese girls? An afro? Okay, hold up. Let's back off a bit so I can explain what's happening. On one ordinary day, Nanaka greets our protagonist Hiromu with her usual cheery good morning as they make their way to school. These two little scoundrels can't resist goofing around like a couple of fun little teenagers until, accidentally, their hands brush against each other, igniting a rush of teenage hormones and embarrassment. Blushing, they quickly avert their gaze, resulting in an awkward moment of silence. Nanaka eventually breaks the tension and begins expressing her joy while reminiscing about their middle school years. It seems that, back then, the two weren't able to get along for some untold reason. But she confesses how happy she is now, to be able to walk to school with Hiromu. But just as Hiromu is about to respond, they're interrupted by a group of girls from their school. Among them, a blonde-haired girl teases Hiromu while placing her hands on his back. So it turns out that our protagonist Hiromu is quite popular at school. While he plays soccer during lunch, the blonde girl watches him through the window, gushing over him with her friends. But they perceive that Nanaka will present an obstacle to her quest for love. They start gossiping and trash-talking about Nanaka when suddenly a bathroom stall door swings open and out comes Nanaka. To their surprise, she shyly apologizes and clears up the misunderstanding about her relationship with Hiromu. Nanaka even offers help to the blonde girl in confessing her feelings to Hiromu. Then she leaves the bathroom, leaving the girls puzzled over her mysterious and suspicious kindness. After that incident, Nanaka goes home from school early and powers up her computer, befitting a supervillain. She then accesses her secret folder, which reveals neatly organized files on just about every single student at school. As Nanaka opens up the folder labeled Mika, the blonde girl we saw earlier, she can't help but wonder how musical Mika's crying voice will be. Meanwhile, after bidding her friends farewell after school, Mika heads home by herself. She is then sweetly greeted by Nanaka, equipped with a lighter of vengeance and fireworks of justice in her hand. Without hesitation, she ignites one of the fireworks, which narrowly misses Mika's face. In a state of panic, Mika questions what in the hell she's doing. Nanaka responds not with words but with another firework, along with a mischievous smile on her face. Mika warns her that she's actually putting her life in danger, but Nanaka remains unshook, claiming that Mika's life is probably worth no more than $2,000, the price of a cat from a pet store. So if this video flops, I might just go sell cats in Japan. Anyways, it's at that exact moment when Mika realizes that Nanaka is absolutely insane. While she stands there silent and dumbfounded, Nanaka begins explaining what she wants. She brings up a conversation about Hiromu, who was a troublemaker back in middle school. She claims credit for his transformation, describing how it was through her efforts that made him grow an afro and become Japanese Bob Ross. And she isn't going to let anyone interfere in their love story. In fact, she wants Mika to admit right then and there that she and Hiromu are the perfect match. Finally snapping out of her daze, Mika calls Nanaka crazy. In response, Nanaka says she ain't the crazy one. She reveals an SD card containing proof that Mika is a serial shoplifter. As beads of nervous sweat stream down Mika's face, Nanaka issues a final warning to never ever go against her. After successfully removing Mika as an obstacle, Nanaka heads over to meet Hiromu, who is on his way home. As she remarks on the coincidence of their unexpected meeting, Nanaka playfully teases Hiromu about his past as a delinquent student. The two walk in silence, but there's a tasteful thickness in the air of budding love and suppressed teenage feelings between the two. Nanaka eventually breaks the silence by expressing her gratitude to Hiromu for saving her in middle school. She doesn't explain what it was he saved her from, but whatever he said to her must have been really touching. Wink. Suddenly, she leans closer to Hiromu and confesses that she feels all jittery when she's around him, and that she can do anything for him. Their eyes lock and inch closer to each other's lips. But just then, a girl shouts Hiromu's name and lunges to hug him, and then, right in front of Nanaka, the girl kisses Hiromu. Aren't her hands abnormally huge? Anyways, while Hiromu remains completely stunned over what just happened, the girl turns around to Nanaka and asks, "What the f*** are you looking at?" As you might have figured out by now, she's our second yandere girl. Finally, Hiromu comes back to his senses. The girl immediately shifts her tone and expression, shyly greeting him while claiming it's been a long time since they saw each other. But he has no idea who she is. Nanaka can't help but let out a victorious smirk as the girl walks away from Hiromu, heartbroken and breaking down in tears. But somehow the next day we find ourselves with the girl again, affectionately hugging Hiromu's arms. She apologizes for the previous day and understands if he can't remember her. After all, the two last met when they were in elementary school. Her comment finally brings back Hiromu's memories, and he realizes who she is. Alice from elementary school. Shyly, Alice brings up the promise they made all those years ago and suggests the two should get married. A grim shadow falls upon Nanaka's emotionless face, but as soon as Hiromu glances over to her in embarrassment, she hastily turns away and dashes off. So what exactly happened during their childhood? Well, as the story goes, the two went to the same elementary school. Little Alice was often by herself, looking gloomy and spiritless. Hiromu used to take notice of her and frequently kept her company. Eventually, the two grew closer until one fateful day, Alice abruptly revealed to him that she's changing schools due to her parents getting a divorce. It was on that day when they made the childish promise to marry each other, should they ever cross paths again in the future. This event marked the first instance of inequality and injustice that Hiromu encountered in the world, ultimately fueling his rebellious nature. And somehow, years later, Alice unexpectedly returned to Hiromu's life as a new transfer student at his high school, setting the stage for an epic showdown between two yandere girls vying for the affection of Japanese Bob Ross. In preparation for their confrontation, Nanaka summons Mika to the school rooftop, who's become her new minion. It looks like she's ordered Mika to gather dirt on Alice and seems pleased with what her minion has unearthed. Armed with her secret weapon, Nanaka approaches Alice, who immediately reacts with hostility and accuses her of flirting with Hiromu. But Nanaka adopts her innocent act again, claiming that she and Hiromu are just friends and nothing more. Convinced by her act, Alice apologizes for overreacting. However, here comes Nanaka with her blackmailing. With an insincere smile, she asks Alice if her mother is addicted to pachinko and buried in debt from it. Nanaka subtly hints at exposing this information, but surprisingly, Alice doesn't seem fazed at all. In fact, she claims that her family history is not really a secret, and most people are already aware of it. With a bright and cheery smile hiding her disappointment, Nanaka expresses relief, assuring Alice that she's there to support her if she ever needs it. Appearing convinced, Alice thanks her new friend for her kind gesture. In the evening, Nanaka summons her loyal minion yet again to express her disappointment. What she found turned out to be completely useless, so she's going to need more information on Alice, something juicier that can utterly destroy her reputation. Otherwise, Nanaka threatens to expose Mika's own secret and get her expelled from school. Now, it's time for another flashback, this time shedding light on Nanaka and Hiromu's middle school days. Back then, Hiromu looked entirely different and was feared by other students as a troublemaker. But Nanaka always stood up for him, at least as much as she could, while playing a fake character as the kind model student. Only Hiromu saw through her facade, but he wasn't judgmental about it. Instead, he simply encouraged her to be genuine. And so this is why Nanaka felt a deep sense of indebtedness to him. Since then, everything was unfolding exactly the way Nanaka planned, until the unexpected appearance of the crazy yandere girl, who came out of nowhere to ruin their love story. For the time being, Nanaka maintains her facade, pretending to stay out of the way of Alice and Hiromu. But unexpectedly, Hiromu bluntly requests some privacy from Alice and runs after Nanaka. He offers an apology about the other day, explaining that it didn't mean anything. So what does our manipulative yandere girl do? She sheds fat tears as if she's just witnessed a farm full of puppies explode. Hiromu apologizes once more and offers her a comforting hug. In the sweet warmth of his embrace, Nanaka makes a solemn vow to triumph in her battle against Alice, that crazy. In the bustling downtown core one afternoon, we find Alice, Hiromu, and Nanaka hanging out together. But how did this unlikely trio come to be? Well, let's rewind the clock to a week ago. At school, Alice approached Hiromu to show her around the city, as so much has changed since she's moved back. That's when Nanaka swiftly intervened, inviting herself along on their city tour. And so, here we are, the three of them spending time together. An unspoken battle for Hiromu's attention ensues, which he has no clue about. Alice's tactic is to constantly bring up shared memories of their childhood, a time when Nanaka wasn't part of the picture. Nanaka has a strategy of her own, however, which involves acting all cutesy and innocent to elicit Hiromu's attention and laughter. But Alice isn't just going to sit idly by while Nanaka steals her man. She brings up another memory, this time a sob story about her parents. But Hiromu was there for her in her time of need, always by her side. While Hiromu doesn't seem to really remember these events, Alice doesn't seem to mind. She leans in for a more intimate moment, which is when Nanaka coughs to bring some decency back to this manga. Embarrassed, Alice excuses herself to the bathroom. Without missing a beat, Nanaka immediately makes her move. With her signature puppy dog eyes, she tells Hiromu that she feels jealous given all the memories that he and Alice share. That makes her want to also make sweet, loving memories with Hiromu. Wink. Just as it looks like cultural things are finally about to happen, Alice takes the quickest pee of all time and returns to break the tension. And all the while, Hiromu remains blissfully oblivious, while the two yandere girls stare at each other in intense rivalry. At this point, you might be wondering what Mika is up to. Good question. At this very moment, she's sprinting as fast as she can under the dimly lit evening sky. It turns out that a few days earlier, she had to provide a status update to her master. Unfortunately, poor Mika had found nothing of use. Alice was virtually a ghost online, with no social media presence or any digital footprint. While maintaining her motherly smile, Nanaka ordered Mika to investigate Alice's former school and gather information. No matter how long ago or how insignificant it might be, she needs dirt on Alice. So poor little Mika had to track down where Alice had previously gone to school. Once she did, she began interviewing the students. Strangely, every student she spoke to seemed to be aware of Alice, but their accounts painted wildly different pictures of who she is. None of the stories, and I mean not a single one, seemed to match up. It was as if there were multiple versions of her, all with a different identity. Eventually, news of Mika's investigative work reaches Alice's ears, and she confronts Mika directly. Recounting all the different stories she's heard, Mika accuses Alice of being a pathological liar, insinuating that she completely fabricated her identity. She tries to shame Alice about it, but to her surprise, Alice freely admits doing so. Mika asks why, to which Alice simply responds that her fabricated stories made her popular. With Hiromu, too, she made up a story that captured his attention the most. And evidently, it worked. So she frankly doesn't care whether her life is a lie or not, as long as she gets exactly what she wants, and who she wants. While all this is going on, what is our Japanese Bob Ross up to? He's hanging out with his friends at school, engaged in a cultural discussion about the girls at school, of course. His friends have taken a liking to Alice, whereas Hiromu claims he's more into Mizuki, an idol group member. She's not that well known, but Hiromu is convinced she'll make it big in a few years. So just when we're led to believe that Hiromu is in love with an idol whom he'll never meet, she appears before him on his way home, with a piece of bread in her mouth, which is how all Japanese girls eat their breakfast according to anime. Anyways, after bumping into each other, the girl apologizes to Hiromu. Somehow she's aware of Hiromu's name, and even his classroom number. It turns out that the girl, Ryoko, is a third-year student at his school. She bears such a striking resemblance to Mizuki, the idol Hiromu adores, that he wonders if Ryoko might actually be Mizuki. Of course, Nanaka observes all of this from a distance, with her unchanging signature smile. After school, Ryoko takes Hiromu by surprise, asking if he's heading home as well. At first, she pretends that she's coincidentally headed home too. However, she then quickly confesses she was lying. In reality, she's been waiting for him because she wanted to see him. And I don't know if she's having a stroke or what, but one side of her face seems to be kind of drooping. So if you ever see someone like Ryoko, make sure you take them to the hospital immediately. Anyways, Alice spots Hiromu interacting with Ryoko and immediately balls up her fist, ready to pounce on her. However, Nanaka-chan quickly intervenes, gesturing for Alice to remain silent. Ryoko then confesses her affection for Hiromu, admitting that she's liked him ever since she first met him. It was love at first sight for her, but she felt hesitant to make a move given Hiromu's popularity, so she wanted to become a girl that Hiromu likes. And when she found out that he liked the idol Mizuki, she immediately went and got herself plastic surgery to look exactly like her, because she's absolutely crazy about Hiromu and would do anything for him. Okay, so maybe it's not one, and not even two, but 3 yandere girls? To continue with the story, you can start from chapter 7 of the manga,